We're talking to Diana. And Diana, what is your last name?
Gandara.
Gondola.
Gandara.
And so, what have you had here tonight at the Oneida Wagner Senior Citizen Center?
Today we had what's called my Inspirational Businesswomen's Network. It's a network that I started back in May of 2019, and it's basically just a gathering for women to get together and kind of share our stories with each other and get to know each other a little bit more. And at the same time, we kind of network our businesses if we have one. You don't have to have a business to come. You can be a stay-at-home mom. That's a job itself.
That's wonderful.
So just anybody can come, and any women can come and just join us and have a night of inspiration and good energy, and I serve a meal, and it's all free. So
and you serve the meal?
Yes, I always serve the meal. I make the meal. I enjoy cooking, so I just love making it for everybody and for everyone to see everyone enjoy it.
Well, that is wonderful. Now, how did you get this idea?
I have a good friend of mine. Her name is Sharla Fisher. She's from Dalhart. She's also a Farm Bureau agent. And told me about the idea. She said she had a business network get together every month and kind of just network their businesses. And I thought that's such a great idea. Well, she just kept telling me how more and more and more women kept coming every month. So one day, I don't know why, it was in my heart that I wanted to do it, but I wanted to do it different. I wanted it to be inspiring. I wanted all women to come, not just business networking. I wanted women to come and join and know that we all go through certain things in our lives that other women are going through. Not just, you're not alone in what you're going through. If it's, feeling doubt at work or feeling a little depressed or upset or having problems with children, we all go through it. So I just wanted us to be able to get together once a month, talk, have wonderful guest speakers like yourself tonight that inspire us and let us know or tell us your story, and more than anything that we get out of it, that we can do that too. We can someday be just as inspirational as you are to us.
Now, what are some of the programs you've had?
Well, I've had several guest speakers. I've had Mrs. Lyles was my very first guest speaker. I mean, she put the bar high. She, talked to us about how she went and climbed a mountain and told us how she just got out of her comfort zone and encouraged all of us women to get out of our comfort zone and try new things and that we can do it. So, she just really sparked us up. Another one that's come is her name is Adriana Woods. She's from Friona, and she owns a local boutique there, which is actually a very famous boutique, online boutique, and she, has over 20,000 followers, I do believe, and she's just prospering, and I'm so happy for her too. She came and talked to us about how she struggled so hard in the beginning, didn't know how she was gonna make her next meal for her children, and now she has half a $1 million company going. So that just really made us feel like we can all do this if we just try and put our minds to it. And gosh, we've just had so many. Another thing that we do is I like giving back to the community, of course. Tonight we didn't bring anything, but like I said, it's free to everybody. Everybody can come. Any women can come. The only thing that I ask is that every month I'm going to ask them to bring something to a designated organization. 1 month we gave for several months, the girls brought gifts for shoe boxes because we do the Christmas in the shoebox. to give back to children that don't get Christmas gifts. And then other things that I'm planning on doing is asking women to bring a donation for the Rainbow Room, our local Rainbow Room here in Muleshoe, to give them children something, something for the senior citizens. Next month, I want them to bring something maybe for the seniors to have, to read or just different things. There's just a lot of things that I have in mind that I want to do.
That sounds wonderful. Congratulations to you, Diana.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you being here tonight for us, and it was just an amazing presentation.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Diana
Gardia Gandara.
Gondola.
There you go.
I want to thank Diana for inviting us to give this program. We moved to Muleshoe in 1954. I was in the 6th grade. My parents, Gil and Olabelle Lamb, had a remote studio in the living room of our home. And it was from KICA in Clovis, New Mexico. The first thing that I ever did on the Mule Train News was I dictated to my mother about attending a Girl Scout meeting in Muleshoe. That story hooked me, and I was wanting to be a reporter from then to now. The Mule Train actually grew out of a remote broadcast on KICA from the Harvey Bass Appliance at the corner of Main Street and Avenue C here in Muleshoe, and that is where Hereford Feed Ingredients is today. It was on March the 4th, 1954. Actually, the first permanent home of the Mule Train was from the Cowboykin Hotel in Portales, New Mexico on KICA. 2 years later, my parents along with a silent partner was issued a license from the FCC, and they put KMUL AM on the air, 1380. The Mule Train was first broadcast on the air on KMUL on July the 26th, 1956.
So I'm going to take you from there to the current position we're at, and basically, our business story is sort of evolution, progress. We've morphed along with the media landscape over the years. So Mom's got you up to the AM. In the 60s, the FM signal was permitted from the FCC by license at 103.1 on the dial. Let me see. There's my granddad in his KMUL mobile back in the day. Late in 1979, the business partner bought out my granddad, and they parted ways in 80, which left my mom and my granddad out of work. As an answer to prayer, Mom came up with an idea that maybe we could take most of our radio programs like the Mule Train and the Sweetheart and host them on Channel 6. I'm sort of not following along with myself, but that's a newspaper ad for KMUL. A lot of those people, there's an Oriental duo. Buddy Peeler, you'll hear about him in a second. A lot of these people went on to radio careers, owned radio stations all over the place. That's
you.
That's me. Anyway, so Mom, as an answer to prayer, thought, well, why can't we put our programming on Channel 6 on the cable system, which was locally owned by the Muleshoe Antenna Company at the time and managed by Merlin Neal, a Muleshoe guy. At that time, the cable Channel 6 was simply nothing more than a camera and a hollowed out box that spun around in a circle, and it had weather dials and time instruments that it showed, and then it simulcast KENW out of ENMU in Portales was the audio, and that's all Channel 6 was. And so Mom approached Merlin, and he said absolutely. So they drew up a contract, we paid a lease, a monthly lease, and we broadcast the first Mule Train News on cable Channel 6 from a home studio that we built, just like the one that my granddad had in 54. But in 1980, May the 12th, is when we did the first Mule Train News from the studio in our living room of our home on Channel 6. My dad, Jack Rennels, so this is still KMUL, that's KMUL, that's my brother Peyton. And then now this is my brother Grayson. This is the very first day we ever broadcast. This is the May 12th, 1980 broadcast in our living room on Channel 6. My dad, Jack Reynolds, who you'll see in this next picture right here, he was an electrical engineer for Bailey County Electric. He hand-built the soundboard, all the video switches that we needed. We were doing this on a shoestring budget. You know, Mom and my granddad had been out of work for about 5 or 6 months at this time. He built them all by hand, and then, of course, you know, as he built on, we expanded into video, which essentially created the first TV station in a town the size of Muleshoe, you know, in the country. There was just nothing else like it. And of course, we expanded very quickly, started, you know, taking what we did on the radio as audio interviews and expanding. We started doing football games, videos, basketball games. We did chamber events. First day of school interviews became video interviews with the kids instead of just audio. We started doing school plays, awards programs at high school graduations, livestock show, 4th of July, Christmas parades, and just general interest interviews that Mom and my granddad would do. In 1982, and this is sort of a side story, but I definitely want to go into it because I think it's one of our more interesting pieces of our story. This is the 90s, but I'm going to take off on this little side story for just a second, so hold on, let me get this down and I'll bring up a different... Anyway, in 1982, a family friend, Buddy Peeler, which you saw in that newspaper ad, told Tumbleweed Smith for his Sounds of Texas, which was a syndicated statewide radio program at the time. It was in over 100 different radio stations all across the state of Texas, about Gil Lamb, his former boss, and the Channel 6 TV station that was in Muleshoe. And anyway, he told Tumbleweed Smith about, you know, that there's a TV station in Muleshoe. Tumbleweed came and did a program on us that syndicated across the state. Then Tumbleweed went and spoke with one of his good friends in Dallas, John Pronk, who was a pretty big reporter with WFAA, which was the ABC affiliate out of Dallas. Now let's see if I can get this sucker up, because I've got pictures of all these people. Tumbleweed became a great friend of ours. In fact, still to say, about 2 months ago, he was in Muleshoe. He always comes and contacts us, and we set him up with interest stories, you know, about Muleshoe. And about 2 months ago, we did about 10 of them with him for his Sounds of Texas, but he's still blowing and going. And you can hear his program at the end of every one of our Mule Train News programs. But this is my dad and Tumbleweed, or my granddad and Tumbleweed. If it would just open up. Anyway, we'll let it see if it, but anyway, then John Pronk came with WFAA. did a story, you know, on the ABC affiliate out of Dallas, which led to Bob McNamara, who came to Muleshoe with the CBS Evening News. There's Tumbleweed Smith and my granddad. There's John Prompt doing his interview with us for his piece on WFAA. And Bob McNamara, which was a huge reporter at the time with the CBS Evening News. There's Bob right there. Mom always turned the tables on them and interviewed them, you know, because they were obviously big news in Muleshoe, these personalities. There's Dan Rather, you know, introing the piece that Bob McNamara had done. That's the way my granddad worked in the latter days. If you see the big, huge writing, he had macular degeneration of the retina, he couldn't see, so he wrote everything big. And anyway, this led to a producer, a television producer with Westinghouse out of New York, contacting us. They signed us to a contract, and they hired writers to pitch our story as a sitcom. And we hired an agent out of LA, and we got an entertainment lawyer out of Austin. And you know, he was really serious about it. His name was Spencer Halpern from Westinghouse. He flew to Muleshoe, met with, stayed a long weekend with us. Anyway, he said it's a long shot, but I've got a good feeling about this. Well, about that time in 1988, this was just a few months after we had signed all these contracts and gotten the lawyers and the agents, the longest writer's strike in the history of television hit. And if you remember '88, they showed reruns of everything nearly the whole year long because all the writers were on strike. Anyway, and it died, you know, which is probably the best. Let me see. Anyway,
he always said that he didn't want Gil Robert on the show.
So,
you would have been the star, though. Trying to get somebody to play.
So this is 1989. You remember Lucky Severinsen? He was a huge reporter for the NBC Today Show. This is Brian Gumbel on the Today Show introing the piece about us. This is the Sunday magazine and the Houston Chronicle that featured us. And we were good friends with Carol Russ that wrote that story on us. Let me see here. Mike Capps with CNN did a story with us. That's Mom on CNN. Then let me find it here. So in '93, ABC, The Home Show, which was one of their morning shows, they sent a crew, did a story, you know, that they produced, and then when it was ready, 2 or 3 months later, they flew us as a family out and put us up in a real nice hotel in Los Angeles, and then brought us onto the show when they showed the piece. And it was Gary Collins and Will Schreiner were the two big names that were on. You can see Gary in the top middle, and then Will is in the top left. They had me and my brothers holding cue cards and were acting like we were running the cameras along with Will Schreiner. Anyway, it was a cool experience. Then another great one was Bill Geist. He's one of the best around, if you ask me. He came and did a story on us for CBS Sunday Morning. I don't know if you ever watched CBS Sunday Morning. It's a really great quality program. And then whenever they aired the piece, I happened to be in New York City, and they invited me to come in, and I sat in the studio behind the camera when Charles Osgood introduced the piece, and then got to meet him afterwards. So that was sort of fun. You know, this is a Dallas Morning News story. It just goes on and on. But then one of the bigger ones was ABC. Let me see. ABC did a World News Tonight, so their 5:30 national news, aired a piece that had Anderson Cooper, and you know, was working for ABC before he went to CNN, which was a huge deal because if Diana remembers, you remember Anderson Cooper was on that World, what was the TV One that we had that we watched at school? Channel One. Anyway,
that's where he got his start.
He got his start covering the first Gulf War in the early '90s, and so like here's Anderson Cooper, you know, who came to do a piece. Anyway, I've got the video. It's like 2.5 minutes long. You guys want to watch it?
Yes,
Okay.
all right.
Finally tonight, a lot of people complain that the news has nothing to do with their everyday lives. Well, they can't say that in Muleshoe, Texas. ABC's Anderson Cooper traveled there to find out just how local news can be.
It's dawn in Muleshoe, Texas, and Maggie Reynolds is about to go on the air.
I gotta get my makeup on.
Every weekday morning for the past 17 years, Mrs. Reynolds has brought Muleshoe its TV news, broadcast live from an upstairs bedroom in her home.
It's time to start a new broadcast day here on Channel 6 on 17 from Muleshoe, Texas. Pause with us for a moment of silent meditation, please.
This is not your typical local news show. Mrs. Reynolds' television wardrobe is, well, understated, and her focus strictly small town, really small town.
The things that are overlooked in the big cities, you know, that we're trying to find people, you know, doing things good every day.
Today's top story, a local farmer had a heart attack and his neighbors helped harvest his crop.
On this combine.
That's Rusty for you.
People want to know about their neighbors. How many people in New York City sit there and wonder, what happened to my neighbor next door? And they don't know. You know, they just disappear. But if they lived in Muleshoe, they would know.
There are commercials, of course, ads taped to the inside of a drum shot by a rotating camera. But during those commercials, behind the scenes, there's often pandemonium. Mrs. Reynolds has calls to make, kids to feed, but at least she's found something to wear.
We've got to go. Out of the way. Oh!
That's okay.
Gil Robert, her oldest son, runs the control room and also does a little camera work. And just about anyone who stops by quickly becomes part of the show.
The scores from last night. What is it, 7th grade?
Mm-hmm.
The 7th
Yeah,
grade?
that's a 7. Is that the way it's paid in New York? Huh? Is it?
No one is sure how many people actually watch Mrs. Reynolds' show, but she's on more than 4 hours a day. It can be seen in 5 neighboring towns.
Last year, the local cable company tried to cancel Maggie Reynolds' show, but that didn't sit too well with the folks here in Muleshoe. After a flurry of calls and pressure from the mayor, the cable company quickly backed down.
Without her, a lot of people who are in their homes, who are ill, out of touch for a little while, would not know what's going on in the rest of town. She keeps us together.
JB got his leg caught in an auger.
For as long as she can remember, Maggie Reynolds just wanted to be a big city reporter. But in Muleshoe, she's become something much more important than that. A champion of small town life, chronicler of births and deaths, and all that happens in between. Anderson Cooper, ABC News, Muleshoe, Texas.
Wonder if she can give me a job. That's World News Tonight for this Sunday. Tomorrow on Good Morning America, the au pair murder trial in Boston. Join Lisa McCree and Charlie Gibson. I'm Carol Simpson. Have a good week and good night.
So I've just got a couple more of these to show you real fast. People Magazine, an article, you know, they did an article on us. A&E Network, An American Moment with James Earl Jones. Okay, come on. Nippon TV sent a crew here. It's one of the big, it's like ABC of Japan. In 2003, they did a piece on us. And then lots of others that I'm just not going to go into. This is the Fort Worth Star Telegram crew that did a story on us. Anyway, so let me get back to where we were before. So this is 1990. My granddad died in November of 1990. We carried on. I went, you know, grew up in the business, went to Texas Tech, got a degree in telecommunications in 98. Went to New York, and I got a job as a media planner with Foot Cone and Belding, an advertising agency in Midtown. It was really grueling hours, really low pay, and after I got some pretty decent experience, I decided to come home and I would digitize Channel 6, get us out of that drum, get everything on the computer, get all of our archives, you know, computerize all of our obituaries and sweethearts, and just have audio digitized. So after I did that, it took 4 or 5 months, I started then really putting together our archives of all our VHS tapes and our DVDs over the year. So if something came up, I could quickly pull something and digitize it into the modern format and use it I've used it for all kinds of things. And it's a really interesting way to tell a story when you add something new in with something historical that we have. anyway, this is the 90s, and this is the digitized studio, what it looked like when I did it in 2001. It's all run by computers, it's all digital, and anyway, it just got us out of that camera with the drum that spun around. Let me think. So in 2008, I began launching our first social media. Oh, this, you can see it. This is how I archived VHS, DVD. There's, who knows, there's probably 7,000 or 8,000 different videos in our archives. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, 2008, we began launching our social media platforms, with Twitter being the first, then followed by Facebook, and then July of 2010, we launched our first website. That's what it looked like, the very first one, along with our YouTube channel. Everything was limited. You couldn't go over a gigabyte or 15 minutes back in those days on YouTube. We had a lot of longer audio programs that I offered on the website, but it was apparent already that social media had outstripped the brick and mortar website so fast that I was like, let's get everything on social media. And so, so in the next 2 years, I launched our full offerings on YouTube. We launched our new website, which I'll show you in just a second. And the first website was July 2010. The first video I put on YouTube was July 2010. So as of this morning, since in that 10-year span, we've got 6,381,473 views just on YouTube. A couple of years ago, we started off also offering all of our content on Facebook video, because it got pretty good, easy to work with, and it has several million views as well. So we've done pretty well, with 6 million views covering a town of 5,000. Of course, the ones that really pushed that view, you can see the number one. It has 3,825,000 views. It doesn't have anything to do with Muleshoe. I filmed a zonkey out of whatever. You make money off this too. You can monetize your videos, So you can see it says that I've made $3,689 in 10 years. So that's not a bad little second stream of money that comes in every so often. $150 every 2-3 months. But anyway, I'll show you real fast the new website. It's at muleshoetv.com. So all of our content is always free of charge, on demand, and I never generally take anything down. We still do a Mule Train news program once a week. We do 2 Sweetheart programs a month. We do 3 church programs every Sunday, the First Methodist, First Baptist, and Calvary Baptist, available free of charge on our website. And then, whatever else is going on in the community that I could possibly cover, like I did the bond meeting that the hospital had on Thursday, then Friday all day, I did the livestock show. So this is our new website. It has all these tabs up the top with all the different programs. And then, there's the livestock show from Friday, an hour and a half of it if you want to watch all of it. And then an hour and a half of that hospital bond town hall meeting. There's all, this is the new thing that spins around. These are just the same ads and news pieces that you would have seen in that back in those days, on the old Channel 6, So it all has click-throughs if the advertiser has a website or something that he wants to send you to, or if it's just a program like our Sweetheart, you can click on that and it'll take you straight to it. But anyway, any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for them? Anything? I do.
Okay.
Do you have any idea how many people you've interviewed?
Oh, no.
Not even.
No
idea. Not even the slightest idea. Well.
No.
So the YouTube is really flexible about playlists and stuff, and I have probably 100 different playlists, and you categorize everything in by subject in a playlist, but there is a Magann's interviews, and so since July 2010, there's right around 200 of those videos. Now, a lot of those videos are first day schools interviews where you're doing like 8 or 9 kids all in one video, so so that who knows?
Gives you an idea.
Yeah.
That's great.
And Magann, didn't you get your education at WT? Did you go WT?
I started at Tech, and I went to Los Angeles City College, and I finished at WT.
So do you have a degree in broadcasting, I guess?
Yes.
Yes.
It really was speech in the old days.
Well, not to mention all the things that you've done for this town.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is amazing. It's very amazing. We were always get excited when what is it called?
What do we call it? I can't even remember anymore.
Turntable.
The turntable. I remember when we were going to see something exciting, we would always say, put it on Channel 6.
Yeah.
It's going to come out there. And we would wait for that turntable. It was just exciting too. We were like, it's going to be next. It's going to be next. So that was really cool.
My
we liked it.
My favorite was when it said school delayed or school canceled. back in those days, we had a lot of
And the
snowstorms.
cat used to get in it.
That is so funny. That is so neat. Cool. So when did you take over, Magann, of doing the Channel 6? After your grandfather?
No.
My granddad, her dad.
Your father. I
Yeah,
mean.
he really worked up until his last couple of weeks alive.
Yeah.
And, that's where I was showing you, he had those big yellow legal pads where he's just writing these huge, like, couple of letters. And he had everything in the world wrong with him, but he died in November of 1990. And, he only spent 3 or 4 days in the hospital before he died, and he worked up until he went into the hospital. So really, she obviously was running it prior to that, but that's when.
But I helped him.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Gil Robert also helped him
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's great.
in the summertime.
Saturdays.
Yeah, Saturdays.
Gil, my granddad was the president of the National Mule Memorial Association, which did all the fundraising and then erected the National Mule Memorial. That's one of the more fascinating videos I've ever done. It's when they celebrated the 50th anniversary of that a couple years ago. So I took an audio interview that we did with him about the Mule Memorial and how it all became a part. And I took all these pictures that we had. We have just tons of pictures and the program from the day of the dedication, and I used them in a video to where it really explained, about the origins of the Mule Memorial, and that's on our YouTube and our website from a few years ago. So.
Cool. I'd like to watch that.
I've seen it. It's good. I
Oh,
enjoyed
thank
it.
you.
I enjoyed
Thank
it.
Yeah. I want to see that.
Anyway, well, thank you guys for having us.
Well, thank y'all for coming. It's just, such an honor. Today I ran into one of the girls at the store, and she was apologizing she couldn't make it. And she said, my husband was upset I wasn't going to go. She said, because he wanted me to get her autograph because she interviewed him when he was in first grade. And I said, well, maybe I can get that for you. So you're a local celebrity to us. I told everybody I was so excited that I was going to kick off this year with you being our first guest speaker, because I just think you're such an amazing woman, and especially to have you in our town, because now, it even makes more sense. You have people from China wanting to come in and interview you. That's, we sometimes take for granted what we have here in Muleshoe, like the Mule Memorial. I didn't know that until Miss Lyles put it in her book. I'm going to be real honest. So getting to learn all this, it's amazing. Thank you so much for coming and doing this for us.
Yeah,
I really
anytime.
appreciate it. I really appreciate it. So any other questions, anything, guys? No? Okay. Well, we can eat, y'all. If y'all are hungry, please come and have some. I made some chicken salad.